Good afternoon and welcome to TechNation's Tools of the Trade live demo. Today we're learning more about the tool of the trade, Fluke Biomedical's IDA-6 Infusion Device Analyzer, which is featured in the October issue of TechNation magazine. We're joined by Justin Ross, who's Senior Technical Sales Engineer at Fluke Biomedical, and he'll be demonstrating the IDA-6 Infusion Device Analyzer, the next generation of infusion device analyzers. Please note that Justin has provided some PDF handouts for you, which you'll find in the handout section of your dashboard. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Fluke Biomedical, the premier global provider of healthcare test and measurement equipment, software and services. They serve biomedical engineers and quality assurance technicians. Reliability, accuracy and quality are the foundation of the company and products. Empowering you to focus only on protecting lives is their goal. So for more information, please visit flukebiomedical.com. Okay, today's webinar, as usual, is eligible for 1 CE credit from the ACI, and you can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed 1 hour after the completion of today's webinar. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 CE credit, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. Just a quick reminder about our fall MD Expo. We're headed to the Mohegan Sun Casino and Resort in Connecticut next week, so that's October the 8th to the 10th. So please join us for 3 days of education, networking, and the latest advances in medical technology products and services. Again, more details and registration details, please visit mdexposhow.com. I'd also like to give a plug about our HTM Mixer, which is being held at the Marriott Resort Griffin Gate in Lexington, Kentucky, and that's November the 15th and 16th. Mixers are a slightly modified, smaller, shorter duration and less crowded event, but it still provides valuable continuing education, networking, and vendor engagement opportunities. For more information and registration details, please visit htmmixer.com. We'll wrap up today's presentation with a live Q&A as usual, so please submit your questions anytime using the questions feature on the webinar dashboard. As I mentioned earlier, presenter today is Justin Ross. So Justin, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Hello, thank you everybody for joining us today and for the amazing introduction. That's great. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start into our demo of the IDA-6, but before we do it, we have 1 or 2 quick questions we'd like to ask the audience. So my biggest one is what do you expect from this webinar today? Now, if you would go ahead and go into the questions portion of the GoToMeeting and go ahead and type that in. And the reason I want to do this is, and take your time, it doesn't have to be right this second, but as you feed this into it, we're going to go ahead and go through this demo. At the end of the demo, I want to really take some time to go into questions and answers. The IDA-6 is so advanced and is so accurate and it's so amazing that a lot of our customers have had questions on it, and we want to go ahead and make sure that we answer those for you. If we don't get to your question today, our team will circle back to you, I promise, and answer those questions for you. So there's our first question. All right, and I believe we have 1 more question here for you. So this is a bit of a poll question. So I'd like to know, what infusion pumps are you currently testing? So if you want to go ahead and enter your answers, and as we're going here, we should be getting them coming in here pretty quick.
Yeah, Justin, I'll give them a few more seconds to cast their votes. While we're waiting, we did have 1 question that came in straight away, which will help you. Convince me how to buy one, okay?
Well, that I'm going to do my best for that. And if I don't do that today, please let me know, and let's have a one-on-one conversation about it.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll and I'll share it. So you have got 26% on the BD Alaris, 28% on the Baxter, 28% on the B Braun, 3% on Abbott, and 16% on other.
Awesome. All right. So I don't know if you all know this, but on the Fluke Biomedical website, You can either go through flukebiomedical.com and go over to media. We have additional videos on how to service some of these IV pumps with our IDA-6, and you can also check us out on our YouTube channel for that. So at that, let's go ahead and we're going to pause this and we're going to go ahead and get into the webinar. And then I look forward to answering questions here when we're done. So right back here, do you go to the live demo, please?
Okay.
Alrighty, so I'm really excited to do this demo today. This is one of those test devices that I feel really changes the industry, and I've been really excited to talk about the IDA-6. This has been a great project to be working on, and I can't wait to show you guys all the things that are built into the IDA-6. So there's a good chance that, because there's so many things, I'm not going to get them all covered in this time. So I do ask that you go ahead and check out our webpage and check out the specifications on it, or talk to your local rep, because again, there's just so much packed into this IDA-6 that's hard to cover it all in a single demo. But with that said, let's get started. And what I'm going to start with is a 50 microliter syringe. So here we go, a 50 microliter syringe, or 0.05 milliliters. So it looks like a large syringe, but when I draw this syringe full, get rid of that air bubble. There we go. All right, so it's full. What is the total volume of this syringe? So here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and push this out in my hand, and you'll notice that I'm pushing it, and there's one droplet of water, and two. The entire volume of the syringe is 2 single droplets of water. Now, you're going to wonder, what am I going to do with these 2 droplets of water? Because a lot of the infusion pump analyzers on the market aren't sensitive enough to pick up that difference of 2 single droplets of water. So let's go ahead and we're going to go, let's fill this up again. Let's do that. Let's fill this up. Here we go. There. All right. And I'm going to go into my manual mode of my IDA-6 on channel 4 here. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the syringe. And I'm going to push, I'm under flow and volume. I'm going to push play. Now watch, as soon as I start to push this syringe in, we're going to get a volume. It's going to measure right here. So here we go. And pushing. And you notice we had an instant pickup of volume. .51 milliliters. I'm going to let this sit for a second, and the test went ahead and stopped. Now, what I want to tell you about that is the IDA-6 is so smart that it knows it takes exactly 3 microliters to start a test. So it'll go and it'll measure the average flow, then go back in time 3 microliters and make that start point. And then at the end of the test, it knows once it sees more than a 50% drop in flow that the test is probably ended. So if it doesn't see the volume go above that 50% mark again, it's going to mark that as the end of the test. And because of this, this feeds into the resolution of the IDA-6 of being better than 1% for most of our tests. And that's just amazing, amazing technology. The second thing I want to tell you about that is if I did this same thing with other analyzers, it'd take 10, 20, or even 100 syringes, 100 of these syringes, to get that test to start. And this started with less than 1. And actually, I'll show you something else that's kind of neat about this. I'm not actually going to, I don't need to push this in. I'm just going to discard this test and start over again. If I start my test and then connect this, it's so sensitive actually that when I connect this in, it senses it as a flow. So it is very, very sensitive, super high resolution. All right, we'll just discard this test here real quick and get rid of this syringe. All right, so I'm going to come back in and show you a lot of the features of the IDA-6, but I want to get a test started because testing takes some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to channel 1. This is a 4-channel IDA-6. I only have channel 1 and channel 4 inserted for today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into manual mode, and I'm going to use my barcode scanner here. And this is an accessory that Fluke sells for the IDA-6. It's a really nice one. Barcode scanner. The reason I really like this is it doesn't go to sleep. Some other barcode scanners, you have to wake them back up and reconnect the Bluetooth every time it powers off. This one is not the case. The other thing about it is it reads barcodes very accurately, as well as QR codes. So no matter how you have the barcode system set up or your ID system set up in your hospital, it'll really pick them up, as well as it picks up serial number barcodes. So that's a big time saver. I can just scan that serial number and enter it in versus having to hand type it in. So what we're going to do is I have an infusion pump here, and it's got a barcode here on the side. I'm going to hit my automatic mode this time, and I'm going to take my barcode scanner and scan the barcode on the side of this. There we go. And it automatically pulled it up. There it is. And the most recent test is the one on top. It's the one it recommends. So once I start this test, I can just simply follow the instructions on the screen and it'll walk me right through. We used the Fluke Biomedical OneQA workflow automation software to build these procedures and insert them into here. So this is a really big time saver. In fact, what I did as an experiment is I did this and I took this exact PM to one of my sites and I had them run it. And I had a new technician with less than a week's work experience, and simply following 3 instructions: 1, power this on; 2, use the barcode scanner; and 3, read the screen. She was able to walk through a Baxter Sigma PM with no additional instructions. Everything else was included in the IDA-6. So let's just go ahead and we'll start that. I'll set this off to the side. I'm going to hit run here. And I programmed in what supplies we're going to need. So let's go ahead and hit continue. And what I was able to do is insert a picture of all the supplies that I would need to do this test. So they're right here. Here's all the supplies I'll need. And if I hit continue on this, now I'm going to be doing my visual inspection. And we'll hit continue. And it says determine the software version. So I have to turn on my pump here. And it is software 6.05. So I don't need an external keyboard. I can use the nice big keyboard on the screen. And 6.05. And OK. Very good. And my next test might be verify is the serial number correct. Now, if I verify the serial number is correct and I push pass, you know it goes green and automatically advances to the next step. We'll see what happens if you fail one here. So now here's the keypad test. Now, you know, after you do a few 100,000 of these pumps, you memorize how to do this. But this is nice for people who are new into the field, or it might be in a few months. So what I did is I copied this entire excerpt right out of the service manual, and I put it into the OneQA software. So I could just simply follow all these instructions, do it on my pump, and once I got through, I'm not going to do it all because it takes a few minutes, did the keypad test, pass. Well, let's say no, it didn't. Oh, and you saw we had a red light. Well, there's 2 things I can make the software do, and it's either stop the procedure and fix it, or go ahead and let it complete the procedure and fail the entire work order. Or maybe I hit the wrong button. So if I need that and I hit the wrong button, I can simply go down here to the bottom to these 3 lines, go back to that test, and retest it, and mark pass. I can only do that, though, till I complete the work order. Once the work order is complete, I can't advance that anymore, or I can't change it anymore. I'd have to redo the entire test. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. So let's go to the occlusion test. Here's all the instructions on how to set up the upstream occlusion, as well as a picture on how to do the upstream occlusion. Built right into it. Here I can zoom in a little bit so you can see. Everything is built. Everything is right into the screen. So you see that whole picture? Here's all the instructions. We'll back it back out here. All right, so we're going to skip this, and we're just going to say that we did this test. Yes, we did the test. Continue. Now let's do the downstream occlusion test. All right, my infusion pump's going to get cranky at me. So let's go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to follow these instructions. Exit this. Exit. All right, so let's pick an area here. OK. And follow the instructions here. It's going to take a second to type all this in. BA. OK. Cursor, drag, and press OK. Take it to basic. All right. Now, again, all this would be as part of your specific pump instructions. So I'm going to follow this through, and I need to do 100 milliliters an hour and 50 milliliters. Okay. Primary bag. All right. And then we'll go down. It takes longer to set these up. Volume to rate. What did I say up there for rate? 100 milliliters an hour. And volume to be infused is 50 milliliters. Okay, okay, okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and we'll start this up. And I have my test set here, and we're going to talk about this test set here once we get the pump running. So we'll insert this into here and continuing to follow all the pump instructions. All right, I'll move this around. Okay, that's open. This is open. All right, now I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to do my occlusion pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run on my infusion pump. Oh, these pumps are so finicky some days. Here we go. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure I get a flow established first. And I'm going to go ahead and push play. Now my test is running, and you'll see my pressure here, and my pressure is going to start to increase. I'm up to 7.39 psi, 9.81, and I have my limits programmed right into here. My time to peak so far, it took 19 seconds there. Here's my occlusion here. My peak pressure is 13.69 psi, or a plus 5.3% tolerance from where we had it. It's within passing score, and there's my passing result, the green arrow dot right here. So I'm going to push continue. All right, now we're into the flow rate accuracy test. So let's go ahead and stop this. Stop. And I have my instructions. And in this one, I've done it so many times, I just programmed it into here. My volume is 50 milliliters, and my mean flow is 200. So let's go back on my test. We're going to clear the program on my pump and do all this again. B, A, okay. And I have to tell you guys as I'm programming this in that I'm a bit of a tool nut. I love collecting tools, especially things that are really awesome. Primary rate is 200. Okay, and my volume to be infused is 50. And once I got into this IDA-6, I got to tell you, I got my units to demo with my customers, and even though I don't PM IV pumps anymore, I had to get another one because I had to have an IDA-6 for my collection. This thing is so neat. Volume given, okay. All right, so my infusion pump is set up. Now you notice something here. I didn't have to prime the system. Reason I didn't have to prime it is since this uses a piston-driven stepper motor, once I pushed all the fluid through here, there's no more air bubbles. So I only had to prime one time. It's not like the IDA-5 or the 4 where I used to lose my prime in between each of the tests. I already did it. So some of those PMs like the Laris, where that's built into it, go ahead and just let it do its thing, but you don't have to do it to satisfy the IDA-6's needs anymore. So the occlusion pressure took care of that. The other thing I need to mention is volume is volume. So with the IDA-6, or the IDA-5, we used to get air bubbles from the solution. Here it doesn't matter so much as that in the IDA-6, we had that glass pipette. You had to watch those air bubbles because it was volume wasn't seen. So this is the piston-driven stepper motor. Even if it has an air bubble, it'll still measure it as volume. All right, now that I'm set up, I'm going to go ahead and push play here. And I'm going to hit OK here and run. Are all my clamps open? Yes. All right, so I have this running on channel 1. And you can see here, there's two lines. You can see this little blue line here. That's my instant flow, and my big purple line, that's my average flow. And over time, this average flow will start to level out. So this is a really nice thing to see, and there's some information above across the bottom. So a question I get asked a lot is, okay, well, now that I have that running, can I start another one? 100%. I just go down here to channel 4, and I can start another test on my channel 4. We're still here in the manual test. We'll just discard that information. Discard. All right. So if I wanted to see both at the same time, I push this button here, and I can see both screens at once. Everything's going on channel 1, and everything is going on channel 4. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight channel 1 here so I can keep a little bit of an eye. But I'm going to let this test run, and let's talk about some more features about the IDA-6. So I mentioned that this is a 2-channel version. It can accept up to 4 channels. So let's go ahead, and I want to talk to you about this because this is awesome. When it's time to send in the IDA-6 for calibration, I don't have to send in my entire IDA-6. So I happen to have another IDA-6 here. And the only thing I have to do is take out the channel. So it takes a T10 screwdriver. I take out 2 screws. This one, and I already took the other screw out earlier. The one over here. And then this channel will slide right out. I'm going to disconnect it. And this is what I sent in for calibration. The calibration is housed right on the device as long with the serial number. So it corresponds to the serial number in this pump. So if I get this back and I set it into a different IV pump, it's not a big deal because this serial number will be recorded into the IDA-6 and attached to that work order in OneQA. So you know the exact channel serial number that you use for doing your tests. So I could send this out. Maybe what I want to do is say I have a lot of these in my shop. I have shops that have 10,000 pumps. They buy a bunch of these, and then they go ahead and buy a few spare channels, or they buy 4 channels so they have some spares. I can simply take another channel, plug it back into the IDA-6, like so, slide it back in, insert my screw again, and my IDA-6 is ready to start testing infusion pumps. I never had any downtime. So a spare channel is pretty exciting because you don't lose that time while your IDA-6 is out of the shop. And again, if you have 10,000 IV pumps or even a few thousand IV pumps, you know that losing your IDA-6, your infusion pump analyzer, can be a real pill. All right, put that screw back in. There we go. So let's put it back together. While I have it here in my hands, you see the big screen, the power button. Again, this is a 2-channel option. On the back side, a few things I want to cover. You'll see 3 USB ports. This you connect to a printer, or in fact, here I have 2 dongles that I'm using. This is an older Wi-Fi adapter, and this is for my barcode scanner, and they simply plug right into the back. So I get questions about this a lot. Well, how about these aren't, what if something hits them? Well, if you look from it this way, this plane here protects anything that's plugged into the USB ports. So I've shipped this. This was the first IDA-6 I ever had, and I've shipped it all over the world with these dongles. And this is an old dongle. It was big. I shipped it all over the world, and I never took these out, and there was no damage to them. So my point is the IDA-6 protects them the way back in there. All right, take this out. Take that out. Over here, you have a USB-C port. So the IDA-6 I have on my bench right now, I'm connected by Wi-Fi to my CMMS system in OneQA. But if I don't have access to a Wi-Fi network, I can just use this USB-C port to pull my data in and out. And the IDA-6 is capable of saving up to 10,000 test results inside of it. And then you can sync it up when it's done. So I could either do that, or I can use that Wi-Fi network. Both of them are really great options. We'll go ahead and set this down. Oh, hey. Remember, whatever channel you hook up in the front, make sure on the back that you hook up a drain line to it. And let's talk about that drain. This is a great segue here. I'm going to slide this off to the side here just a little bit. So you notice that I don't have a standard test setup here. I'm only using a 250 milliliter solution bag. And you notice I have 2 hoses set into it. The reason I can get away with this is the IDA-6 uses that piston-driven stepper motor. This is that IntelliPump technology we're talking about. So as my infusion pump is pulling it through the this test set here around here to my infusion pump, it's then going into my analyzer, back out the backside, and then back up this tube, and the IDA-6 is actually pumping that fluid back into my bag. So what's cool about this is I can test all day long, all week long, and this level will never change as long as I don't change out this tubing or drop it on the floor. This is great for a few reasons, because I am now portable. So if I take this bag, like I could take this bag and turn it over. It's not like the ones we normally use where we making a slit in the bag. Here, it's all contained. So this is a really nice system that makes it portable now. This is some telepump technology. We didn't think about this, but when you talk about the amount of time that you can save in doing your PMs, it's not just what the IDA-6 sets up for you and its time savings and how easy it is, but if you're out there searching the hospital, how far of a walk is it from your patient floor back to your desk, right? It's a ways. So the first few pumps is easy enough if you can get them from Central Supply, they bring them to you. But it's when you have to go search out for the last 10% of your pumps or more, you can now take this the IDA-6 with you on a crash cart with a little test setup like this and a recirculating bag, and you can take the IDA-6 to your pumps and save those miles and miles of walking back and forth to your shop. This is awesome. Trust me, this is awesome. And this is all I need. Good question. For all those of you saying, well, my PM requires so much headspace, get a taller IV pump or IV pole like this crash cart and just stick it way up there in the air. And then again, it'll just continue to recirculate that fluid for you. Your head pressure never changes. You get the same results in the morning as you do at the end of the day. This is a really, really nice feature. All right, let's check back in on our IV pump here real quick. Let's see where we're at. So right here we see our average flow. It's in purple, and our instant flow is in blue. So you can see each time one of those peristaltic fingers resets. That's great. Right now we've pushed so far 23.47 milliliters, and our mean flow is 190.6 milliliters an hour. You can see your tolerances in it. The total test time so far has been 7 minutes and 36 seconds. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it sounds like this IV pump's got a bad part in it. I can hear it starting to growl at me a little bit. Right here's my instant back pressure. So everything I need to know is right on that screen. If I say, hey, I want to look at this graph a little bit, I see there's some gaps here. What's going on here? I can simply touch on my screen, on my graph, and blow that up and see in more detail what's happening. And maybe I want to do some troubleshooting in my IV pump here. I'm going to be curious to see if this one passes its test. All right, let's get back out of this. And boop, make that small. All right, let's go over here to channel 4. So let's go back into manual mode, and let's talk about some more of the things we can do in manual mode. We talked about this flow and volume. For my OEMs, those techs who want to see a bell curve, you have your normal screen here for your flow versus time. If you touch in here and then go to graph, flow versus time, and you can go down here to a trumpet curve, which is really nice. And anything that has a red star, you have to program that in. So your sample interval, your observation window, your start time, stop time, your delta, all that gets programmed into it. Once you program that in, you'll then be able to graph your trumpet curve across the screen. Make that small again, and you have your time, your volume, and your mean flow. So if I go to my volume, or any of these, I could set my expected volume. So in this case, maybe it's going to be 50 milliliters, 50 milliliters. I can set my high limit. And maybe it's going to be 51, and my low is going to be 49. Or some people read in percentages. So I could take this back, and let me just clear this out, and I'll make it 5%. So my high limit's 5%, 5%, and my low limit can be 5%. So again, I can do it by volume or percentage. All right, same thing with my time, and again with my mean flow. Some other nice things on the screen here is I also can add notes. So if I'm partway through my test, and like this one over here that's making some noise, you know that's a great scenario. Let's do this. Let's get out of this. Let's go back to channel 1, and I'm going to add a note because right here, pump is noisy. There we go. So now I have a note about this IV pump that's making some noise in there. I need to look at it better. Okay, back to channel 4. All right, so I can add my notes into it. I can introduce back pressure. So if I'm an OEM and I'm doing some testing on this, or I have some specific tests where I want to sense a back pressure, I can add back pressure to it. When is my IV pump going to start and stop? All that can be programmed into here. That delay can be extended out for when it stops. All that's there. Here's my occlusion screen. We saw that in the automatic mode and all of its features. And here's one that I love, bolus and PCA. I used to do a lot of pain pumps and PCA pumps, and it was really difficult to measure that bolus flow, especially because a lot of them want you to do 10 or 15 or 5, 10 different titrations at that bolus flow, and you have to average them together. So with the IDA-6, it allows you to program your base flow, so maybe it's like 5 milliliters an hour or whatever, and then you can go ahead and hit that bolus, and it'll measure your bolus duration, your bolus volume, and your bolus flow. So then you can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 of those, and it's going to average them together. So you can get rid of the high and the low and get you good bolus readings on it. And you'll actually see a baseline with your square boluses. So that's a really, really nice feature, and it does it very accurately here. All right, let's go back and let's check back to our pump again here. So we are 11 minutes and 43 seconds into it. We're at 37.32 milliliters, and my mean flow is still around 190. So we're right against that limit at 4.9, and our limit was 5.0. We'll see how this pump finishes out here. All right, so while that's doing it, let's go into our screens. So here's my asset library. So what I can do is I can program OneQA with all my asset, all my IV pumps, and it'll upload all that into the IDA-6 for me, so I don't have to do it manually. If I do have to do one on the run, this is really cool. I can use this barcode scanner and scan a new device, and it'll actually walk me through. If we have time here, let's do this. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. We'll go to channel 4, and let's discard this test. So we're going to add an asset to that list. So channel 4, we're going to run a procedure, and we're going to find a barcode that we haven't used yet. So let's go down. Let's go. Where's the barcode at? We're going to pretend my box here is a new IV pump. I simply scan this barcode, and it pulls it up on the screen. So here's my number. Create an asset, and now I can select from it. It's a Baxter, Sigma Pace. And if I needed to, I could have added my serial number into there, and I'd select the appropriate test for it. And I just added another IV pump to my system. It was that simple. That's all I had to do, like 3 buttons there. Man, I get all excited about that. All right, so let's just discard this test, or discard that piece. Back to channel 1. We're still running away. And let's go back to our asset screen again. So we just added an asset to it. Here's all the procedures I have populated into this IDA-6. And again, I can have as many procedures as I need, especially if I have the OneQA, the full OneQA version. If I get the OneQA Lite that comes with the IDA-6, I can have 5 procedures in here, so 5 different IV pumps. Or maybe I want to have an incoming inspection and a full-blown PM and whatever I need, up to 5, the software that comes with the IDA-6, as many as you want if you get the full-blown OneQA. All right, let's go back into the screen, procedures, results. So here's every test I've run with the IDA-6. You can see I've been doing demos, and I've failed the procedures, so I have red X's. If I passed it, I'd have a green light here, and I could go into these, and I can see what happened. I can go down here to my notes, and I can see, oh, it failed right here, and it failed here. I can't change anything on these screens now because I already finalized it, but I can see what happened without going back to my PC. It's right here. Again, just touch on it, and there's why it failed. So obviously, if you're doing a whole bunch of IV pumps, this list is going to be quite extensive. I've only done 2 since last time I sank, so you're only seeing 2 today. Back out. Let's go back in here one more time. So assets, procedures, results, users. If I have OneQA Lite, I'm allowed to have 1 user. If I have the full-blown OneQA, I can have everybody. Oh, my test stopped. So I'm going to pause on users. Let's go back to 1, and I'm going to hit silence on this. And you'll notice now our total volume was 47.62 milliliters. We had 50 set, so that's a negative 4.8% tolerance, which is passing. And my mean flow was 200 milliliters an hour. We were at 190.5 or 4.7% tolerance, and it passed. So this step passed, and I have a green light here. So now that that's done, If I needed to and it failed, I could push this circle button here and go back and redo the test. But it passed. I'm going to push continue here. And I got a passing score here. So here's all my information for the pump, my asset ID. If I had my work order ID, I could type it into here for my work order, or we'll just make a number up there. Here we go. Everything I need to know is here. If I want to go back and look at any of my steps, here's all my steps. I didn't finalize this test yet, so I can go back and I can change any of these right now. But once I verify all this information and I push complete, that data is now locked. I can no longer alter that work order. And it's saved into the background. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop this pump because it's going to scream at us the entire time we're showing the rest of this demo. All right, door open, silence, get rid of this, and off. Shutting down. All righty, so let's go back into the screen here, and we're down to users. And I had mentioned with the OneQA Lite that comes with IDA-6, you have one user. If you have the full-blown OneQA, I can have as many users as I have logged into my OneQA system. This is awesome. There's more about that in the OneQA webinars and on the OneQA white papers. But essentially what that is, that's my electronic signature. So I know I did all this work. Or I can have my new technician or whoever it is, their information will be in here and they can select from it. Users. All right. Settings. This screen has a lot of information on it. So here's all of our different units. So millimeters of mercury for pressure, millimeters of mercury, kilopascals, PSI, or bar. I don't have to translate anything. I can put whatever units I need into it. Flow. All right, here we go. For all my Baxter and all those other technicians who are measuring in volume, right here, milliliters an hour, and volume is in milliliters. For my Alaris users and everybody else who needs it in gravimetric, grams per hour and grams. So with this, I want to talk about it. As long as you're using pure distilled water, we want to use pure water through the IDA-6. It's just better for the internal workings for it, but the viscosity of it is 1.00 grams of pure water per 1.00 milliliters. So if you program that into it, take that back. It's 1.00 grams per 1.00 milliliters, and this will automatically compensate. So if you need to read in milliliters or in grams, just select it from the screen. I want to show you something with this. So if I'm into channel 4, and I'm going to go to measure, and I started my test, and I went ahead and measured a volume. Let's just do that real quick. Where'd my syringe go? This one will work. I'm going to put some volume into this. Run a test here. Give it some volume. And stop my test. If I do that, you'll see that I have 5.65 grams. So with this, if I needed to read in milliliters, it's easy enough. I simply go back to my back screen and measurement. Yes, complete. Nope. All right, try it again. Sorry about that. I pushed the wrong button. I got too excited. Connect this. Now let's put a volume to this. All right. Now, I'm going to hit stop on this. And you notice I'm reading in grams. If I needed it in milliliters and I forgot, easy enough. I go to my back. Cancel this. I'm going to go here to my 3 lines. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to change that to milliliters and flow to milliliters an hour. Now you'll notice it changed my unit of measure. As long as I didn't finalize this test, I can change that unit of measure. So now I'm in milliliters per hour, which is where I need to be for my syringe, I guess. All right, discard that. Let's go back to our settings here. So settings, all the different units of measure, 0, adjust pressure. You might have heard the pump running here a little bit. The reason you heard that running is because I introduced pressure to it, and I haven't zeroed my channel in a little bit. So I was down near the seacoast here a few weeks ago doing a demo, and I zeroed my pressure. Now I'm up in the mountains of western Pennsylvania, so I have a pressure differential. So you can see this sometimes if you select millimeters of mercury on your occlusion pressure. If you have that screen and you see some pressure, you just simply go to the channel and you push 0 here, and it'll zero that pressure out. Again, for all those traveling technicians who are going to be moving through different elevations, you're going to need to do that. So there's my zero pressure transducers. My screen says my backlight and my volume. My languages, I'm assuming I'm in English, but if I need to speak in Espanol or Dutch or Italian or Portuguese, all of them are here. I can change my keyboard language, date and time. You can set it here for all your different formats. Printers. You can print reports right from the IDA-6 to your printer. So this is where I'd standardize my printer. Here's my network. You can see that I'm connected to my guest Wi-Fi. It's super easy to connect to Wi-Fi from here. OneQA. So I'm going to show you something here. So I just synchronized here. I just sank here. So I'm going to go back in my screen. I want to show you something here. Let's go back to my results. Remember, we just did a test. So here's my test we just completed. You notice I have no cables connected to this IDA-6. So if I go down to that OneQA, so settings, OneQA, and I push synchronize now, that's all I have to do because I'm on the Wi-Fi network. It's going to synchronize this IDA-6 to my system. Synchronizing, and depending on how many tests you have in there, this could take a little bit. So once it goes through and synchronizes, and then you're done. The other button, last synchronized, it just went through, so we're good. And now we can go down here to about, and this is what channels are installed on this. If I changed out these channels, you will see this serial number, firmware and calibration date changing. That's all tied to a specific channel. Also, in case you ever have to do a firmware update, you can do your own firmware updates, and you simply do it here and system update. It's that simple to do. That's it. So we've walked through the IDA-6. We've covered a whole lot of information. There's a whole lot more to this IDA-6 we didn't even have a chance to get into. I want to show one more thing here. As I did all this information, everything pulled into here to my OneQA. Now that things are synchronized here, I can use my OneQA. I can go up into my assets and then my reports. I can print reports. I can attach it to my CMMS. If I had an API, it's synchronized for me automatically. All kinds of functions and features built right into OneQA. It's a whole nother subject. Oh my. So much to talk about this IDA-6. If you haven't had a chance, please get a hold of one. Wait. One more thing. For my Alaris users, a little hack. I've been doing a lot of Alaris testing with my customers, and I found this to be so helpful. You have to use your imagination here just a little bit. But for all my Alaris techs, what I've been doing is I use 2 channels because I have to still use that Alaris software, right? So I have the Alaris software on my PC. I'm running the Alaris software, but you need to have 2 sets. Alaris recommends that you have a calibrated flow tubing set and a calibrated pressure tubing set. So what I did is I took the 2-channel IDA-6 and I hooked my flow to one channel and my pressure set to the other channel. And when I'm doing my Alaris and I'm going through all the procedures, only thing I did is I changed out my tubing. I grabbed the set for flow, put it into my infusion pump, did my flow test. When it was time for occlusion, I took that set out, plugged in the occlusion set, and ran my occlusion test. Even there, we were saving a lot of time. I want to say like 3 to 5 minutes per pump because we didn't have to change all around. We didn't have to dump the cylinders. We didn't have to dry the cylinder. We didn't have to tear out the scale. And again, those scales aren't transportable because if you move the scale, you have to re-zero it. So we actually saved a lot of time. And all my Alaris customers are really excited about this again because now they can take this and go out to the floor and find those last few channels that they normally have to spend all day walking around and bring them back to shop and lose a lot of time and transport. Sorry, but your step count's going to probably go down with the IDA-6 because it's going to save you a lot of walking doing infusion pumps. All right, now I've covered a lot, so thank you very much.
Okay, Justin, it's going to be over to you.
All righty.
Q&A. So I will give you control so you can go full screen.
All right. So there you go. You should have my camera on full screen, and I'm back here with my IDA-6. And what'd you guys think? Any good pop-up questions? Any other comments that came in?
Yeah, we've got a few. You've covered actually quite a lot, but there's one here is, do you have every manufacturer stroke model in your listing for pumps when you add an asset?
No, we don't. We don't. And that causes a bit of a challenge for us because of copyright laws. There's certain manuals out there that are protected. But what we've been able to do is if you have that manual and once you get OneQA, if you can provide that manual to us, we're happy to help you build a procedure. And building these procedures isn't like the old days when you had to do all this program. You can probably see here in my background, it's a Windows-based system. It's drag and drop. Like you can cut things out of the procedure and move it right over. In all sincerity, that procedure that you guys saw me run today, I built that in 20 minutes prior to a presentation. Since then, I built a new version that's in here, and we're actually running it with a lot of customers right now. It's that whole procedure, but it's condensed down because they knew all the steps. So we just got it down to just the very bare bones. So you can have multiples of it. So to answer the question, no, we don't have them all. If there's something you're missing, we're welcome to send us the manual, and we're happy to help you build it. So then you have it. And when you do that, the team will really show you how to optimize it. So you can have the raw one, and then we can show you how to really make it how to fly. Because a lot of people here in the U.S. specifically use alternative equipment maintenance programs. So with that, we just did that really cool one, like I mentioned, and we're now running like 4 or 5 Baxter pumps simultaneously with that new procedure.
So, okay, what if we service more than one brand?
Not an issue. We can do anything that you're looking to do. So we can build a procedure. If you have a Baxter, we can build a Baxter procedure. I can show you how to run Delaris if you're running Delaris. If you're running the B Brahms, if you're running whoever, the Plum Duo, it doesn't matter. It's agnostic. The beautiful thing about the IDA-6 is it's just measuring flow, volume, time, and pressure. That's the basics of what we're doing here, but we also have the ability then to add in all the rest of that procedure and all the rest of that data and enter it all right here through the device. So you don't need your laptop or your PC or your notebook. So you can do all of them and build all those procedures and put them in here. So we even have some customers that are like they're ISOs and they service hundreds of thousands of IV pumps. It's not a big difference, not a big deal. So we can handle flows from anything from 0.001 milliliters an hour, 1 microliter, up through 3,000 milliliters an hour. That's every IV pump. If anybody knows an IV pump outside of that spec, throw that thing into chat. I'd like to look it up. But that covers all of them and most feeding pumps and anything else that has a fluid flow. So no problem. We can do them all. Bring it on. I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. Now, can I pass a specific work order to the device or OneQA? We close specific work orders instead of working by equipment.
Oh, say it one more time, dear.
Can I pass a specific work order to the device or OneQA? We close specific work orders instead of working by equipment.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. So in that screen, when we get in here to run a procedure, let's just grab one here. We'll skip this. And when we get into the procedure, we can log into it, the work order ID number. So you don't have to do it by serial number or model number. That's the beautiful thing about this. Like, does anybody remember those choose your own adventure books that we had as kids where you could read it and decide which way you wanted to go with that? That's how this is built. And it's actually almost a bit of a hindrance because there's so many possibilities. But if you let your rep know or let me know, let the Fluke team know how your workflow works, we can customize our system to work with you. It makes it really easy. Did I answer that one?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, yes, hopefully. Another question here is, when you run the pump to get flow volume, do you have to run the full VTBI? For example, if the complete infusion is 30 minutes, do you have to let it run the full 30 minutes to get the value?
No, so we have two values to pop up onto that screen here. So let's go over to this channel and we'll go into measure. And let's go back into this flow. And I'm just going to throw a little bit of a flow into this here for a second. If nobody asks about why I'm pushing a cylinder of dry air into my IDA-6, hint, hint. Okay. So you're going to notice we have two lines. We have an instantaneous flow and we have an average flow. So a lot of the point of that 30-minute test isn't to check the immediate accuracy. It's to check what happens to the pump after the mechanisms internally warm up and what happens to the battery. And is there going to be any dropouts? Or, you know, like if you ever had an older car and you drive it for a little bit, that clink or that clank goes away because the machine warms up. That's why they had these prolonged tests. They want to make sure it's being able to sustain it. But if you want to see your flow at any point in time, you have your instantaneous flow, your instantaneous volume, as well as your average flow. So you can see them both. So if you're partway into it, and that's what I recommend a lot, is when you're looking at these waveforms that it produces by pumping it, you can actually look at when the peristaltic pumps are resetting. And if you looked in that video that we were just showing, and you looked really close at my screen, you'll notice that my IV pump's got a bad finger in it. So when you have that waveform, there's a dropout every time it's pumping. So I can actually go into that flow in, and I can go into this and observe it, and I can go in and look at any specific point in time by touching it. And so I touch the screen, I can see what my time was and what my specific average flow and instant flow was at that exact point of time. So this is great, not just for the biomeds and ISOs, but also for the R&D folks. If you're designing new pumps or new applications, perfect, easy to use.
Great. So how many cycles does the pump run before it needs to be calibrated?
How many cycles does the pump run need before it needs to be calibrated? So I'm assuming you mean the IDA-6.
Yes.
So we mean by that, I recommend once a year. But again, you're not sending in the whole IDA-6. All you're doing is, I got another one here. Here we go. Hold on, I got one on the floor. What we're going to do is we're not going to send in the whole IDA-6. So like right now, it is so high resolution that I do recommend you send these in for fluke to service because the resolution is just so high. But you don't have to send in the whole IDA-6. Only thing you're going to do is you're going to take a T10 screwdriver like this, and you're going to take out these two screws. Here's one, and here. Can you guys see this? Okay, good. You can see here and here. You take these two screws out, and then this channel just slides right out. There's a USB cable. You slide this out. So I can send this into Fluke to get calibrated. I can send in this one right now, and I continue to use the rest of my IDA-6. So what I have a lot of customers doing is they say, okay, well, you know what? We each one have 3-channel IDA-6s. So they went and bought a bunch of 4 channels, and they bought a few 2 channels. And what they do is they have a few spare channels. So they take 2 channels out, send it back for cal, and keep using it. And when those 2 channels come back, they put those into the next IDA-6, take out those 2 channels, and send those back in. And they're never down. So while it's once a year, it's designed so that you are never down. I answered a lot more on that question.
That is fine.
I get carried away. Sorry, y'all.
That is fine. Will it function with an empty channel bay?
Well, yeah. Hold on. Let me just. Oh, I was doing an experiment here with graduated cylinders and resolution, so I almost knocked over one and brought my point forth where glass graduated cylinders are quite fragile. Okay, so here we go. We are now missing a channel. So all that happens is when you're missing a channel and you please take it, unpower it, power it down. Let me zoom in here. So what happens is if you have a channel out, as soon as we boot up here, on the bottom where it lists all the channels, now instead of having a 4-channel or a 2-channel, I have a 1-channel IDA-6. And what will happen is only channel 1 will be highlighted. That's all. So yeah, you can take them out, you can add them. You can buy a 2-channel and add it to make it a 4-channel. See, only channel 1 now. That's all.
Perfect. Another question here is, what is the maximum storage capacity, and can it be connected via USB external storage device?
Oh yeah. How many IV pumps would you guys like to service before you sink it? There's a good question. If anybody wants to put that one into the chat, because it's 10,000 results. 10,000 results, a good answer. And how do you get them out? Simple enough, man. On the back side here, you have this USB-C port. So you can simply connect into this USB-C port and pull them right back to OneQA if you want to. You can use the Wi-Fi adapter. This one's got it in it. Here we go. That's a Wi-Fi adapter. It's a Wi-Fi adapter. It's so small. You can use the Wi-Fi and sync back to OneQA. Or another option that I don't think I mentioned in that demo is if you want to just export it to Excel, you can take a USB dongle, just a standard USB memory stick, plug it into the back, and export to a CV Excel spreadsheet file. Holy cow, what's it called? CVS receipt. Nope, that's not it. That file, the Excel file style. Yep. So yes, there's multiple ways to get your data back out, and 10,000 results. CSV, thank you, Mark Supple. Oh, it's great when the president comes in and saves you.
Okay, right, we've got time for one more question, Justin. Does it act as a mass storage device if connected directly to a PC with a USB cable?
Does it act as a mass storage device? Well, you're not going to be able to save your MP3s on it if that's what you're asking, but it does save all your procedures very well. And that's, I hope I have time for this. Tell me if I run out of time, dear. So what's awesome about this and this OneQA thing, if we take this a step further, has anybody been reading any of the biomed periodicals or gone to MD Expo or any of the conferences? Like the biggest topic is always data security, right? So we're always talking about data security and patient information and HIPAA and all this stuff. An amazing feature about this is that as you're doing procedures on this, if you're using OneQA and saving it to OneQA, it creates a backup copy. It's on a secure cloud. So not only can you export your results right to your work order in your CMMS system and put them on a thumb drive, but anything that's saved to OneQA has its own backup copy. So if for some reason your CMS goes down today or whatever happens and your state inspector happens to walk in and says, hey, show me the record for this IV pump, you just go into OneQA, you type in the serial number or however you track your asset ID, and you can pull back up all the information, all the tests. And when you do that, you can also find each and every device that you used to test that IV pump with automatically. We got better things to worry about as biomeds. We need to tear things apart and drink coffee. We can't be bothered with that stuff.
Great, thank you so much, Justin, for your time and for such a great presentation. Thank you so much. Any questions we didn't get time for, I will send to you afterwards and your answer at your own convenience.
Awesome sauce.
Okay, so I'd like to encourage everyone to visit today's sponsored website, so that's flukebiomedical.com, to find out more about all their products. Now, just a quick reminder, you can obtain your C certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed 1 hour after the completion of today's webinar. You must complete the survey to receive your 1C credit from the ACI, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. If you've missed any of our past Tools of a Trade demos, please visit webinarwednesday.live to view our whole archive. We'll be back next month with another Tools of a Trade demo, so please visit webinarwednesday.live for more details and complimentary registration. So thank you all once again for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.